And that gentleman right to your right there is in charge of that property.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions by members of the public? Hear none, see, oh, come on up.
Tom Williams, 41 Long Village Road. This is what is the fire world we're in. Are there also going to be sprinklers inside this community or not? All
Yeah,
these aggressive-
yeah. There will be sprinklers in the building.
Okay, simple question. Thank you.
Anybody else have questions? Okay. Do you have any other witnesses?
Mr. Gittimer had a question to answer regarding the height in the back
Okay.
of the building. Thank you, Mr. McClellan.
Thank you.
He's previously sworn.
Mr. Gittimer has been previously admitted and sworn as an architect, and I believe he is referring to plans that were previously provided. Is that true, Mr. Gittimer?
Right, this is P3 with the date of 8/2/19. And the question was the height.
What's the date on that? I'm sorry.
8/2/19.
Was it P or A?
P.
P.
From Paul. And the question was the ridge height at the back of the building, which is listed here as 55'8".
Just for clarification,
That's at the back.
Mr. Gittimer, you're referring to the plan page number, right? You're not referring to it being marked as an exhibit.
No, it was submitted as P3.
Can you orient us to what you just pointed to from the
lower-
bird's eye view also?
Lower left, this is the back of the building.
Right, show on the U up there.
Oh,
Can you show us where
back
you're looking?
here.
Okay, thank you.
And as, just for the members of the public who weren't here, as Mr. McClellan was indicating, there are two masses of apartment buildings, 3 stories tall, facing the front, and a landscape green space between them at the end of the boulevard. Isn't that true?
That's true.
Thank you. I have no further questions for this witness.
Questions? Questions by the board?
So the bottom one is what the residents in the back are looking at, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Three stories. Got a
So
wall.
this wall in the middle where you have the common area is 18 feet high.
Right. I thought there was concern about a buffer in this area. Or am I
So
wrong
we were
on that?
talking about trees.
Yeah, trees.
Well,
What, can you just refresh our memory? What's the current height of the building and what's that height?
just
The current ridge height is 42 feet.
And that's 55?
50 foot high.
Sorry?
And
And
that's
that's 55?
55 foot 8, yeah.
I think it's correct. I told him that.
The eave is about 42.
To remind the board what you're looking at, when you're looking at the back of the building is a mass existing now, sitting up above the homes that are in the back there. There's a fence in a state of disrepair. The back parking lot is where the detention system that Mr. McClellan referenced, and then there's a steep drop-off. There's a wall of varying height running along that back area, holding up that detention system and back parking lot. So we did discuss whether or not buffering could be put in there, but because of the slope from that edge of pavement back to the back, there was no availability for putting additional shrubs. We did say that we would explore that and would certainly try to do that in the site plan if there was a possibility. We thought at one end where it was a little less steep, we might be able to do that. But for the middle area, as you can see that wall, that's not going to really work. We're going to be relying on the new fence, which will be screening the parking lot in the rear, making sure no headlights are ever shining into the homes in the back. But that'll also have the effect of shielding the homes from the view of the lower edge of that pavement. So they'll mostly be seeing the residential units above if they see anything at all.
So the existing wall that you have right now, about 3 feet or something, that's going to stay?
That's not being changed at all in the back. We're not changing that detention system. We're not changing that retaining system back there. Those parking spaces, right now, that's the cartway for the trucks used for deliveries,
Right.
whenever they get their deliveries. And that's gonna be converted into just that residential.
So the 6 foot fence will come over that 3 foot concrete wall?
Yes, that'll be at the top of the 3-foot wall. That'll be screening the cars in the lower area of the building from the residential uses, because the applicant, as I'll remind you, thought it was important to make sure if people were parking in there, that headlights would not be shining down into the neighborhood below. So that's the primary reason for shielding that. The screening there right now is a little substandard. It's older. It's in a
I've seen
state
it,
of
yeah.
disrepair. And it's not the type of fence that's being proposed here with this application.
So the total height will be 2 feet of concrete and then another 6 feet?
I'll need Mr. McClellan for that because it varies.
Okay.
We
That
can
was
bring
3
him
feet.
back when, if you
Okay.
want.
Okay.
Because that's our ultimate goal here, right? To be good neighbors in the back.
Right,
And
absolutely.
so that's what we want to ensure, you know, that,
Right.
you know, John and
We're-
Patty Smith in the back, you know, they're not dealing with the constant headlights.
Right.
And
They're
then
right now, they're facing the
back
back
rear
of a
lights.
shopping center that's lit up all the time, a blank wall. The idea here is, instead of that commercial use, to transition to a residential use, which is gonna have a lot less impact during the evening, and also shield the neighbors from that, from any cars that might be back in there. Of course, the primary focus of the application, you can see from the plan we laid out, is most of the parking's in front of the front door. It's in front of the building. There's only a very little bit of parking in the back. But still, with cars moving back in through there, you wanna make sure if someone parks there and they go head in, their lights aren't going down into the houses below. So it's a solid fence preventing that.
I believe the houses are about 300 feet away from this building.
Thank you, Mr. Gittimer.
And are they sloped down,
Yeah,
the houses?
they're down below.
How many feet did you say?
I believe it's about 300
I
feet.
don't know if that's. indeed
How
that.
wide is the green area behind the detention basin? 65 feet, rough?
65 feet?
Right. Do you think the homes are 250 feet or 230 feet from the back property
I'm talking
line?
from the building itself, not from.
Oh, from
Building to building.
itself. Okay. I thought, Mr. O'Neill, that we went around and around with putting evergreens along that wall that wouldn't be instantly shielding this building, but over time would. And I thought we had some kind of agreement that there would be an effort to have evergreens strategically placed all along there.
I thought that's what I was trying to reference when I said some areas provided that availability where the wall's a little lower and
So
the
we're
ground's a
not,
little
we're not
flatter.
withdrawing that,
No, no,
Okay.
not at all. No,
because
not
you
at all.
kept
So,
emphasizing.
yeah, so
the-
Mr. Chadwick, if I can springboard off that, so based on what you said tonight, it seems like that middle section is, you know, probably not gonna experience any type of evergreens, right? It's mainly going to be the sides, if anything, correct?
Yeah, we can talk about it again. It's one of the sides. It's got a good opportunity for it. It's a lot flatter. The wall's a lot less on that one side.
Right.
But as the hill slopes, there's a greater slope. And, you know, we could plant whatever you want to plant whenever we get to that stage as part of a landscaping plan. But the opportunity drops off as the slope becomes more severe. But there is one side, and I'm just going to guess without the exhibit being up there, my memory of the testimony was that it was actually the western side of the property where the wall was a little less.
That wall raised.
You got to come up, Mr. McCall, if you're going to help me out.
Sorry, excuse me. My recollection of my testimony was that wall varied from approximately 2 to 3 feet on the east side up to about 7 feet on the west
So I
side.
had it backwards. Thank you.
Any other questions? Any members of the public have any questions, please come forward. You in the back, come on up, so you're ready, so you're in the on deck circle. can sit down in the front here, okay?
A couple of questions to the board.
Hey, what's your name again for the record?
Narayana Maspalli.
Okay, thank you.
The first question is, I know this application, board is considering it. So converting something commercial into the apartments, what benefits it's going to bring to the township? I mean, we believe as a public that it's going to create like more problems. I mean, in the school system.
Okay,
traffic.
excuse me one second.
Yeah.
I can't let you testify, okay? You have a question, you want to know what the impact's going to be on Parsippany?
Yes.
Isn't that for subject matter
Mr.
expert?
Chadwick?
He's not able to.
I don't think we're capable of answering that question. I mean, there's standards about how many cars and traffic and school kids.
But that would be it. So this is for a use variance. This is for, can that site be allowed to be used for residential? The full site plan and how it's going to look at the final look of it is going to be at another hearing when they come back.
So
Is that what you're asking?
Right now, if there was something that the witnesses said that you didn't understand, or you thought there was another question that should have been asked, you ask that question now. At the end of this hearing, then you can get up and give whatever opinion you want, which is where you were going. It's too early.
Yeah, that's fine.
You got it?
I mean, I apologize.
That's okay.
About following you because it's very hard to listen from back here.
Well, sit up closer.
Yeah.
Sit up here in the first row.
So I just want to make out the board, that's what, before we are approving anything, right, just consider the public opinion, how.
Oh, there's
You'll have
definitely
that
an
notice.
opportunity for the public to speak
Okay.
under oath, okay? Just like if you went to court, we swear you in and you testify, okay?
He's under the impression he can grill the board. That's what he's under the
Yeah.
impression he can grill the board.
Well, you can always ask the board questions, and we don't, you know. And now, is somebody else, right here. Please come and identify yourself.
Barbara Northwell, B-A-R-B-A-R-A, M-A-R-Z, L-O-F-F.
Thank you, ma'am.
You have to continue to use the microphone.
How much higher is it going to be from what it is right now? The top of the building that's there now, how much higher is it going to be?
Mr. Gitter.
It's about 13 feet higher.
13 feet higher? Because I have a picture,
Gotta be a question.
it's got to be a question.
Yeah, and unfortunately,
I got to wait till later for that.
Yes.
yeah, and if you're going to present any evidence, it can't be on your cell phone. You gotta print it out, provide copies to the attorney and everything if you desire to do that.
Okay, that's what I need to
Yeah,
know. Okay,
good, no
thank you.
problem, thank you very much. Any other members of the public? Okay,
He's on the road.
I hope this is relevant for the time, but you don't want the light to penetrate into the residence. How about the sound of the cars? What is the acoustics or the soundproofing, the quality of that for an average resident in this apartment? Will he be disturbed by the noise, whether it be the car or the next apartment?
It's not my expertise.
All right, then I'll wait for another time.
wait, do you have somebody that can answer that question?
Mr.
Is that-
McClellan, can you answer the sound deadening capacity of a board-on-board fence?
Excuse me.
Zero.
Also not an acoustic expert, but I can offer some thoughts. One is that when you compare it to the use today, you're going to have residential passenger vehicles versus commercial vehicles coming around for deliveries. So the use is going to create less noise as a result. Secondly, I believe the testimony that the buildings were 300 feet apart, so the parking's roughly 200 feet away. Plus there's a fence in the middle and some natural screening. The cars in the driveway out in the street are going to have much higher bearing than any of the vehicles that are on our property because of the distance away, and there is some brick barriers between them. So I don't believe that, I think that you're going to have a better acoustical situation as a result of this application.
And I'll add also that the applicant, of course, will comply completely with sound regulations here in town.
And one final question, what would the distance be, the closest distance to any parked car head-on and the wall of anyone's apartment?
Of the,
don't know if
of our apartments,
I
or,
come into the, and I wanna park, and here's the building, the parking spot, how close am I when I get out of my vehicle to someone else's wall in their apartment?
well, the,
Closest,
yeah, the parking lot at the back of the building is 60 feet wide. So, 18-foot parking aisle, 24-foot drive aisle, 18-foot parking aisle. So theoretically, if you're on the side away from the building, you are 60 feet from the building.
no.
I think you're missing one thing. There's no apartments at the grade level in the back. It's parking deck.
It's only parking.
There's,
So you can't park up in the.
you're not in somebody's front window, no.
Okay, all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions by members of the public? I hear none, see none. Any other witnesses?
I have no further testimony.
You only have 5 members here tonight. Let's
Can
take a
I have
5-minute break.
minute?
Let's take a 5-minute break. Mr. O'Neill would like to poll the board at this point.
Usually we don't hold the board.
What's the process for that?
Usually we go to a conference.
What does that lock us into, not lock us into? You're just asking what we're thinking now?
I am asking where we are at with the board now, what the thought process is regarding your opinion of the application before we make a decision as to whether or not to carry it. So if you have some concerns, we'd like to hear them.
Okay.
I was more than happy to go into a conference, but that effectively cuts off the, we've got to hear testimony from the neighbors and everything.
No problem doing it, I just don't want
Ask the
to
public
precede the
first.
public. 'Cause they may
I
raise
think we have some
something.
issues, Joe.
I understand.
I think we have some issues. And you need 100%, you need a home run, only 5 of us here. So,
So we request that we be carried to your next available meeting, which is hopefully next month.
hopefully in this decade. But I think somehow we have to get to you some information, because just carrying the case to the point where you have 2 more members to vote on it, if there's a significant number of the members that are not happy with it, I don't think you want to come back in 3 weeks and with 7 people and find out that you now have to go do more work. All right? I think
Which
this.
is why I asked.
Yes, well,
to
that's
poll the board.
why I wanted to accommodate you, and unfortunately, Peter.
Well, if the board, it's
We can't,
certainly,
but what we
only
we
have
can-
5
what
members
we
here
can,
this evening.
what the chairman can do is ask the board members if they require any additional information on any issues.
Okay.
Maybe I can just, I think the fire company needs to get a report back to you.
All right.
So I think you have to use your energies to get that pried out. The other thing I think you need to do is show, again, I know Mr. McDonough testified somewhat to it, but a better graphic showing how the rear of this building will look from the backyards of those homes. And it's just a matter of photoshopping in the landscaping that can be put in there and show how this building will be screened.
Well, Mr. McDonough expressed some concern about that at the last hearing because most of it's going to be covered by existing trees. So it's
This
not
time
like
of the,
a-
this time of the year, you can go down and stand at your property line and take a picture. And that's the worst case. And then to the extent you'd need to supplement, you'd show how you could do that.
We will certainly try to do that.
I mean, it's gonna show that there's a lot of woodland between this building. We've all been up to that site a zillion times to take a look at.
I think there's also some concern by some of the board members about the number of units that we're talking about. And my personal opinion is that we're gonna have traffic issues. I mean, I know that we've had a traffic expert tell us there's not gonna be any traffic issues, but, in talking to people who live in that area and express, you know, what that's like, you got 180 apartments, you got 100 people leaving for work in the morning, and they're all going east, and Route 10 is backed up. It means they're all gonna back up onto that jug handle, and I think we're just asking for trouble. So, and I'm not just speaking for myself.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah. I mean, can I, you know, I think as far as the use is concerned, I'm okay, but I need to know more about it. Of course, when I say uses, I'm okay with the use, but it doesn't mean that I'm okay with everything else. 180 apartment, 400 plus parking, and you know, we never talked. We didn't go into detail of, say, the school kids, right? When if we are locked into 180 apartments, then we should talk about the school kids too.
Well, we could talk about the school kids. We can talk about the Rutgers study, if we haven't already, and I kind of thought we did, but if we haven't already, we could talk about the Rutgers study.
Right.
But I do want to remind the board that making a decision because you think you're going to have more school kids than you can handle is an economic decision being made by a board about a use, a zoning use. And where economic decisions end up is that's what brought up the Mount Laurel cases in the 70s and the Mount Laurel case that the town just settled.
Yeah, I don't think that's
That's
what the
what that-
concern, I
No.
think the concern is with buses and that type of thing and movement, which
We can
hasn't
address
been.
it. We can address that.
But I
The
think
travel
that's
patterns.
what they're talking about. That's why I asked them, they may want additional information.
Okay.
And you know, so some of the things will come up at the site plan time, but for use, we are still locking in certain requirement that you have, like number of apartments and you know how the site will be laid out and everything. So that's where my concern is. Like, we need more information, or we can just go and say, okay, use variance fine, but other things are flexible.
Yeah.
We will endeavor to come with more information regarding those
Yep.
issues.
Right.
Laura, when can we move this application to?
March 18th?
March 18th.
I am good.
March 18th it is. I'd ask that the matter be carried to March 18th without further notice. We will provide all necessary extensions through the end of March.
Nora, I will not be here on March 4th, just for your information. Okay. You want your next case on?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
That will be Liquid Church, application
Liquid Church.
1958.
If you can give us just a minute to set up.
Yes, go right ahead.
How are you?
You're here for a CD variance, signs, parking, and cafe. Is the cafe the use, or is it
The cafe is the additional use variance.
use? The other things are just C variances?
Everything else is a C variance. We had a prior application, if you just give me 1 minute. Let me my appearance. Joseph O'Neill for the applicant Liquid Church. This is a new application for approval that was before the board previously for expansion of the existing Liquid Church to occupy the entirety of the building that is now all going to be the church, whereas before there was warehouse space. We dealt with that. We dealt with the impervious coverage variance in the prior application. This application is the site plan section of the application to deal with the parking lot. There are C variances relating to the number of signs and the location of signs. We'll get into that detail. And we are asking for an additional use variance because there is an existing cafe which employs special needs children, which is one of the focuses of the church. And we want to expand that to be used all the other days of the week when the church is open, but there are no services there. Right now it's just for services. And with me this evening is Pastor Brooks, who is going to explain to you that mission and why we need that service. So we'll just in your direction. But Pastor, why don't you stand up?
Raise your right hand. You swear from testimony you're about to give before the board is true self you got?
Yes.
For the record, can you state and spell your name?
David Brooks, D-A-V-I-D, B-R-O-O-K-S.
And you're the pastor of the church?
Yes, I am.
Thank you. You're sworn.
It has been...
Go ahead. You heard my brief introduction. Why don't you just go right ahead and explain what it is we're seeking there. Let's concentrate on the cafe.
Sure. You know, it's been our privilege to be in Parsippany and to be a part of community life. One of the ways we want to contribute to that is to make our building available, and we've done that in a variety of ways. We are the backup site for the summer concert series. We've had our building used for Arbor Day, as well as for the prom when it rained and they needed to take pictures. And then we've hosted an art show for a young girl who was raising money for India. We continue to want our building to be able to be used for a variety of purposes. We also want to contribute to the community. And so we've refurbished the Senior Citizen Community Center, the Animal Shelter, and No Park, which is really the first play area in a public park in New Jersey to be designed for handicapped children. But that leads us to our signature causes, which are poverty and those who are below income, as well as special needs. On the poverty side, we've contributed by paying off the school lunch debt for all of the families in Parsippany who had outstanding school lunch debt, so they could start this school year not having that burden going forward. In addition, we contribute to the food pantry as well. But we're here tonight to talk about special needs, and you may not know, but we've been told that New Jersey has the highest rate of autism in the country, and we don't know what the cause is, but we feel that's an opportunity. And so one of our areas that we've placed emphasis on is special needs. And so when we built our building, we put in chill spaces, a sensory gym to make ourselves available, and so we have a number of families, over 100 families that come each Sunday to be able to use our facilities, and we provide buddies and a place for people to be able to have religious observance and bring their children. We also provide respite nights for families so they can drop off their children, and we will provide them a night out. In addition, uniquely as it happens this week, we are hosting a prom for teens and adults with special needs in partnership with the Tim Tebow Foundation. And so over Thursday and Friday nights, we're going to have 725 teens and adults coming and getting a prom. Some of them may never have had one before, but we'll have over 2,000 volunteers to serve as buddies. We'll give them limo rides, beauty treatment, the whole bit in partnership with the Tim Tebow Foundation. So we're privileged to do that for our special needs community. As I like to say, after Disney World, these 2 nights, it's the happiest place on earth. It's a great experience. And so we want to extend that. One of the biggest problems for adults with special needs is employment. They don't have employment opportunities. And so because we're committed to this community and have provided help in the past, when we have a cafe, what we wanted to do is extend that to Monday through Friday primarily, a lunch and breakfast cafe to be able to provide opportunities for our adults with special needs to have employment. And so we'll be able to employ, we think, about 30 adults with special needs if we can open up this cafe to the week, and not just our liquid community, but really to the community at large in Parsippany, as well as anybody else who would want to come. And then if there are any profits from this, we're going to donate those profits to clean water. We're calling it the Clean Water Cafe. Our signature cause globally is to provide clean water wells around the world. And so these special needs adults will not only be coming and having employment, but they'll also be making a difference. Any profits will be going towards helping to provide clean water. So we are applying to be able to get this use variance so we can open up the cafe to the public Monday through Friday.
Now, the church itself, while you only have services on the weekend, the church itself is open 7 days a week. because you have various missions and missionary work that you do and the other activities that you do, the planning and these items. So there are people in the building all the time, right?
That is correct, yeah. So while the majority of people will come on a Sunday, we do have additional activities, getting people together in groups and serving and providing other opportunities for it to contribute back to the community as well as society.
So right now, given the current situation, the cafe is closed at those times, but it would be open to service those people visiting the church and working in the church.
That's right, exactly. So the way we do on Sunday, where we have the cafe open for our community, we'd be able to extend it for those people who are regularly coming during the week, and they could use the cafe.
And with a little luck, some people maybe working in the area will stop by for a cup of coffee in the morning also?
Well, that's what we're hoping, that along that Jefferson Road corridor where there's a lot of industrial areas, that we would become the place of choice for people to get their morning coffee or come for lunch during the day.
And one of the elements of the signage that we're requesting right now is actually a canopy on the front of the building at the cafe's location, so people know where to go into the cafe.
That's exactly it. Yeah, we have one main entrance off of the parking area, but we'd want to direct them to the particular area so they could go right to the cafe instead of coming in through other parts of the building.
To your knowledge, what's the closest establishment, food service establishment to you?
It would be on Smith Road, I believe. There's a strip mall there that has a number, Annabelle's, Dunkin' Donuts, Jersey Mike's.
You're a 501c3.
We are.
Nonprofit organization. My reading of what you're telling me is you're creating a entity in your church that's known as unrelated business taxable income. So you're going to pay taxes on the money you earn at this food stand, and the town can potentially charge you property taxes on the part of the building that's being used for a non-tax exempt use.
Well, that concept is certainly in play here, but if the assessor, Mr. Cassis, is listening, I think an argument can be made that this is part of a nonprofit-oriented enterprise core to the mission of the church. And there is some case law.
When you're telling me you're going to have
I'm
people
telling you I'm
driving
gonna
down the
argue.
road and I can go in there and buy a drink, unrelated business taxable income, you got to file a 990T. And 990T means you got to pay taxes. And the
Well,
town.
that's one question.
Okay.
That's one question.
'Cause we have the
But
same
the other
situ-
question,
okay.
sorry, Mr. Chairman, to cut you off, but I believe you've taken two questions and combined them into one. The other one is the carve-out for property taxes for a for-profit enterprise being conducted inside a church, like a gift shop or whatever. And we'll have a conversation with, we're going to resist that, but I know that'll be Mr. Cassis.
It goes to the spirit of what you're trying to do. And if you're just opening it up so that you could serve your constituents, which is a bad word, your congregation or parishioners, that's, I think, is one thing. But if you open it up and you put a sign out there, Joe's Coffee Shop, it changes the complexion of this application dramatically, in my opinion. Okay?
Okay.
Does everybody understand that?
Yeah.
So it's a kind of encouraging the other people to come to this cafe instead of going to the restaurant outside.
Right. Yeah, and we believe this is consistent with our purpose in terms of trying to provide employment for adults with special needs. That is our primary purpose. We're not interested in getting into the restaurant or cafe business, but really to provide.
But you are.
But yes, I understand that, and so that's why we're saying any profits will be given back to not-for-profit causes.
You can proceed.
Thank you. I have no further questions for this witness.
Any other questions for this witness? Any members of the public have any questions? Please come forward.
Nicholas Homiak, Lake Hiawatha. Would your church be willing to ban all single-use plastics in your establishment? There's a plastic bag ban allegedly going to take, well, it is going to take effect in Parsippany and other places. which is only the tip of the iceberg. But there's many other products, styrofoam, cups, straws, mixers, any single-use plastic. Would your establishment be willing to expand and ban as much plastic and styrofoam single-use products as possible?
You know, we received notification about the bags, and obviously we are going to comply with that in the church use as well as we would for the cafe use. And we would consider whether we would be, it would be more advantageous to be able to extend that beyond that plastic bags.
Have you ever seen the movie Plastic Ocean?
I have not.
I think we're going
You should. Well, no, because he said he was gonna donate to water, clean water. This
Well,
has
he
a lot
also,
to-
they also said they were going to explore it, Mr. Homia, so he's on your side.
Well, he can explore watching the movie, and I think he'd be,
Okay.
This is really
It's
not
just a
germane
suggestion.
I mean, I appreciate what you're saying, and I don't disagree with you, and whatever we do in these, but I don't think that's gonna have any control over whether we grant them an application, an approval or not, is whether they're gonna use plastic or paper straws. I don't think that's under
No.
our purview.
well, it was meant to the good Reverend.
Okay,
Good.
but, you know.
To commit himself in
okay.
public to an extended plastic ban, so I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions by members of the public? I hear none and see none.
Who's going to explain the most recent layout for the cafeteria?
That's our next witness.
Okay.
Thank you.
Unbelievable place, gorgeous. Oh my God.
Yes, please. Michael Hughes.
You raise your right hand. You swear firm testimony about to give before the board, true so help you God.
I do.
And your testimony is,
As the architect,
okay, and all your certifications are in full force and effect?
they are. I've testified in Parsippany prior.
Yeah, thank you.
So we're going to mark that exhibit as A1 for this evening. That's a colorized version, Mr. Hughes, of what was provided previously to the board. Isn't that true?
That is correct.
Some of you go ahead and, you heard that there's a question about the cafe layout. We talk about that.
Yes, I'll give you a quick description of it. You're looking at a key plan here of the entire property.
Can we get a date on that plan?
This is dated 1/20/20.
And this is, was it color submitted?
This is colorized.
And it was, so that we're gonna mark this,
I marked it as A1 also.
So that has not been filed with the board.
The black and white version has been.
Yes.
That one I've got is 1/8/20.
2020 is the color version of it.
Oh.
Same plan.
All right. So it is 1/8/20 black line.
Correct.
Okay.
What you're looking at here at the top of the page is the key plan of the entire building. To get you oriented, Weeboro Road is along the right side of the building here, and the main parking is at the bottom of the page here. Currently, the front entrance is in this corner of the building, and the cafe portion is directly within the front doors of the building. So when you look at the front elevation or the parking lot elevation, you're seeing this wall here. This shaded area you're seeing here is this portion that I'm indicating at a large scale of the current cafe that is used on Sundays. So we have seating for approximately 80, I believe is the number, and we currently have a small mid-sized kitchen that has commercial fixtures and a serving counter that has some other support spaces, sinks, and other refrigerators, things like that.
Do you have a fire suppression system?
Yes, we do.
And to comply with code, there's being proposed additional sinks and wash space.
Correct. We're showing a 3-bay sink, a hand wash sink. We have the stove and hood in this location, and then a dishwashing sink here. And then that's within the kitchen space itself, or the prep space. And then outside of that, facing the seating, is where we would have servers behind that counter, and then you have that support equipment behind that, a couple more sinks and small under-counter refrigerators, things like that.
The canopy that I mentioned is not on this exhibit, but that's on the windows facing, oh, you've got another, there you go.
Magically.
Why don't we mark that as Exhibit A2 for this evening?
Okay. This plan shows the various elevations of the building. The elevation you're seeing here is the piece that faces the parking, and the canopy we're talking about is just over these two windows here to the left of the doors. The goal is to try to identify these doors as the location that I'd want to enter the building in order to get to the cafe, rather than the doors that are at that end of the building. Down here, you're seeing the blow-up of it. The canopy is roughly 13 feet wide to cover the two windows and about 4 feet high.
And again, this is a colorized version of Exhibit A2.
Correct.
Sheet A2 of the plans that were submitted.
That is correct.
Now back to A1. Since we've got the exhibit up, why don't we just run through the signage again at the bottom?
I'm thinking Presbyterian.
We're talking about these two signs here. One of them is the existing sign, which is at the corner of Jefferson and Webro. And there was a minor change to that in order to add the additional verbiage for the Clean Water Cafe that we're looking to note on the sign. The second sign that is being proposed is at the entrance into the parking lot, and we made it identical to the existing sign so the two would work together. Some of the verbiage has changed and the arrows pointing have changed, but the size and the basic configuration is the same.
No further questions for this witness?
Any questions by the board?
Yeah, just the canopy. There's no door over there, right? For the
Not directly under the canopy, no. It's to the left of the main doors that are already there.
So what is the purpose of the canopy? If I'm coming there, I'll see the canopy. I will try to go in. I will.
Well, that's the hope. I mean, we did not want to put the canopy over the doors that are already here, since that's the design. So we wanted to get something near enough to these doors to indicate that that's the entrance, so that we don't have a conflict with that entrance way down at this end. I mean, ideally, I understand what you're saying, that you could put a sign on top of that, but architecturally, that just didn't work that well.
Just to attract people? Just to look at me?
Sort of look at me, or here's the door you want to come in if you're coming for the cafe.
Yeah, but I don't think that's the natural assumption when you see a canopy and just windows.
Yeah. And there will be sign on the canopy?
There's a small sign
This
that
is
is the logo for the Clean Water Cafe. You can see it here. That's that little square.
No door.
No, there's no door. You're looking
No,
at the
I
two
get it.
windows. Okay, sure.
Well, I get it and don't get it at the same time.
By the way, I just took a tour of the Liquid Church last week, just to understand this, and it was very nice.
I was there for a concert. It's
Yeah.
beautiful, beautiful facility.
Mr. Hughes, can you tell me the difference between the October 4th map and the, what is it, January 8th map? Anything significant other than what you just explained?
Of my drawings?
Yes. Is the cafeteria bigger?
No, I believe the only differences that occurred might be in how some of the sidewalks and ramps were designed.
Okay.
Part of this plan shows the intent to get handicapped accessibility
I
into
didn't
the
have a whole
existing
lot
doors.
of time to compare the two, and I couldn't find it.
Yeah, I think it had to do with how this ramp was laid out and configured to make it a little bit more.
Same size cafeteria?
Yes,
same
no changes
place,
to the cafeteria.
everything? Okay.
Any other questions by the board? Any members of the public have any questions of this witness? I hear none, see none.
Thank you. With that, thank you, Mr. Chief. With that, I'll call Mr. Hanson.
How many more witnesses do you have, Joe?
Pardon me?
How many more?
Mr. Hanson.
Just Mr. Hanson. Sir, raise your right hand. You swear firm testimony you're about to give before the board is true, help you God?
Yes, I do.
For the record, can you state and spell your name?
Sure, it's John Hansen. Last name is spelled Hansen with the firm Engineering and Land Planning Associates.
And all your licenses are in full force and effect, and you provided testimony before this board and other boards in the state of New Jersey.
I have, yes. And my licenses are professional engineer and professional planner.
Mr. Chairman, he's sworn and qualified.
Okay.
Mr. Hanson, can you walk us around the proposal here?
Sure. I want to just note that I have an exhibit here, which is a aerial exhibit. We called this A3 with today's date. It's dated February 3rd, 2020. And so what this is a colored rendering that basically shows our site plan, the surrounding area. You have Webro Road to the bottom of the page. And here, this is Jefferson Road here to the right of the page, and then north is to the upper left corner, and then you have Route 287 over off the page. So, as you recall, I was here testifying before the board for the D variance for the use of the entire building about 11 months ago. And so between that time and now, we've fine-tuned the site plan, which is, as you know, the construction details with respect to all the site and basically emulates the plan that we showed you 11 months ago from the variance standpoint. So I'll hit on the high notes of the plan and then be happy to answer any questions. And then we can kind of wrap it up with talking about some of the D variance proofs for the Clean Water Cafe. So basically what we have here is the site's been designed. What you see in the darker area is the existing pavement. The lighter areas are the additional impervious coverage. When we were here 11 months ago, we got an approval for exceeding the maximum permitted 70% coverage to 79%. What we were able to do is actually design the site with the 682 spaces that we said we would, and we fell just under the 79% maximum coverage. So we're at 78.17%. I think we accomplished our goal there. And there's a couple of safety enhancements that really drove this site plan application. Number one is that we kind of straightened out the parking here. You may remember that it was kind of a crooked walkway system that went from the, I'll call it the north side of the parking lot to the building. And so what we're doing here is that we're reorganizing everything to have wider walkways, safer walkways, and a more direct connectivity between the north side of the parking lot and the building. As our architect said, we have a new building entrance over here, and so we've had the two logical connections to make for the parking, and it's really a much more safer situation. It's conventional parking layout with 24-foot wide aisles, 9 by 18 stalls. As I mentioned, we're fully compliant with the number of stalls that we need. We have 682, and we're required to have 682 if you take the ordinance and do the math. We've done all of the requirements, including the soil testing, to design a very extensive and, I'll say, expensive stormwater management system. That's totally underground. It's called the storm trap system. That addresses not only the water quality aspects that we need to, but the rate attenuation, infiltration, and all that stuff. It's all underground, so you won't see anything other than just the manholes, which could be looked at as an added benefit. We did some proactive work before the board, before we came here, and we met with actually I didn't meet with him, but Pastor Brooks met with the township forester, because when we submitted the application, he had some questions about how we were going to landscape this and really make it look nice. And so what you see here is some foundation plantings on the south side of the building. It amounts to about 100 different shrub and small plantings to buffer the building. I think that really is going to be nice. And then we've also supplemented with shade trees. We have about 24, 25 different varieties of shade trees to not only separate the site from Webro Road and buffer the building, but then also keep the parking lot area buffered and provide some relief for the heat to the pavement. So I think that's really tasteful, and it really looks good. We have also submitted, and we've received some comments from the fire department. The fire comments were relatively benign. They would want one parking space over here removed so that they could have access. And so we're going to replace that parking space over here so we could have the same 682 net parking stalls when we're all done. And we have additional coverage to do that. They also wanted some striping on the no parking areas for their request, and we're going to accommodate that. As a condition of approval, we would fine-tune the drawings for that. We also got some comments back, water and sewer. No real issues there, some minor details and construction details that they wanted on the plan. With respect to lighting, we have the existing lighting system that is in the area here I'm pointing to the northwest of the existing structure. That lighting will remain as it is, and then we will supplement new LED lighting in the new parking areas. It'll be 20-foot high fixtures, modern fixtures, shine right down to the ground, your standard, very energy efficient fixtures. One thing to note is what we're asking for here is a two-phased approval, which is kind of common when you get to a project of this size, and especially for a group like this who is raising money to build this. So what we're asking for is to be able to build the parking areas and build the lighting associated with those parking areas, and we'll build the base of parking in just a stabilized base. So if you're familiar with parking lot design, you typically have two sections of pavement that you put. The one is the stabilized base, which is the thicker course, and then you have the top fine course, which is a 2-inch course or a surface course. And so what we're asking to do is to just have the stabilized base course, install the landscaping, install the lighting, and then come back, and we're going to mill out the 2 inches of pavement over the existing pavement and then pave the whole site. So we're asking to do that in two steps.
You want to do a 6-inch base and then take 2 out and then put the final base in the 2 inches back in after you mill it?
No, what we would do is in this area where we have just a parking lot by itself, brand new parking lot, we just put the 4 inches of stabilized base in there, and we'll adjust the inlets at the time. We'll just put 2-inch risers on them. And then over in here where we're basically filling in some of these islands here, you probably would, you'd base right to the top and then just mill the whole thing out so you have a 2-inch overlay when you're coming in for phase 2. But we really think that the phases are going to come pretty quick anyway from what Pastor Brooks is telling me, and he can speak for himself. But we want to have a little flexibility if we need a little time between the two. So in a nutshell, I think that's it. We are also doing some ADA improvements. We've got additional stalls here, and we're asking for a little sign there to kind of point people towards special needs parking area. It'll be a 2x2 sign, which is consistent with the directional sign definition in your ordinance. So that'll be over in this area here. And then our architect talked about the other sign. We have our existing sign here, freestanding sign at the corner, and we'd want another additional sign here just to balance the two out and direct people to get to where they need to get to. I'm happy to answer any of your questions at this point.
I have a question. And this is a question I haven't asked you before in the past, so I apologize for catching you a little flat-footed, but is there any anticipated electric car charging stations going to be placed on the site?
We haven't talked about that. No, I don't think that's in our works right at this time.
I have a question. With regard to the cafe, it's open to the public. I think the testimony was 60 seats?
80 to 90.
80 to 90. No one really went through the hours of operation. But is it going to conflict with the parking on a Sunday when your full congregation is there?
Your ordinance for a restaurant use, which would be, in my opinion, much more intense than this cafe, it's 1 per 3 seats. So if you had 90 seats, you'd have another 30 parking spaces that you would need. We've designed this site so that it assumes everything is happening at once. Those 682 parking stalls that we've designed assume that the office is in full swing, the congregation is, the worship service is in full swing, and that everything is happening at once. In reality, that's not the case. So per definition, per your ordinance, you're not going to have this thing fully parked at 682 spaces, in my opinion. When per the ordinance, those uses just won't happen. So what I'm getting to is that I believe that the cafe and that nominal ordinance requirement of another 30 stalls is really just going to be washed away here. You're never going to have that time where you're deficient in parking. You know, the time I think that you're really going to have people that come to the cafe would not be, if you have a few people that are from the public coming to the cafe, it's going to be people that work in the area, that go have in the office, they saw a new sign, said, hey, there's another place to eat here. Maybe I'll go and see what the church is about, and I'll go and I'll have a sandwich. And that's probably going to be a breakfast crowd, that's going to be a lunch crowd during the week. I really don't see that that's a Saturday, Sunday heavy hitter type of use.
So, you know, I don't know, maybe I missed a few things. I have a lot of questions, and maybe some of the witnesses that already testified need to come back up. What are the hours? Is it Monday through Friday?
Yeah, I do have it. Maybe Dave's the more appropriate
From
guy
what to what?
Let me just get it out here so we're consistent.
Here, right now, we're thinking of the hours as being Monday through Friday, 7 to 3.
7 a.m. to 3?
Yes.
What's your menu?
It's going to be primarily a coffee shop with a few extra items. So it's going to have the normal coffee items, some lattes, espressos, etc., with tea. And then we'll have some pastries associated with that. And then we'll have some sandwiches that we'll be bringing in for lunch.
So we saw a little of the kitchen. Is there going to be an active grill going on for this too?
No, there isn't.
No.
We're going to bring in food that needs to be warmed up. It's going to be prepared elsewhere or made elsewhere.
Okay. So this will generate more solid waste, right? So comparing to what, you know, you have now in regards to garbage removal, how will this cafe increase that traffic, the garbage truck traffic? And does that change the dynamic of the traffic circulation on this property?
That goes back to Mr. Hanson.
I have another exhibit that I think I'd put it up will help. Are we up to A4?
Yes.
Okay, A4 is our traffic circulation exhibit.
I mean, does it change the dynamics of the circulation as opposed to maybe intensify it a little bit in regards to garbage removal?
Well, I think you could certainly make the assumption that you're going to have a slightly more amount of garbage removal. But if you're not cooking there, you're not preparing there, then really what it is it's the prepackaged items that have to get removed. So you have some more cardboard, you have some more plastic, but we've designed our solid waste and recyclable areas, so I think it can certainly accommodate it. But let me just talk about the traffic circulation exhibit for a minute. Currently, our waste area is over on the north side of the building against the adjacent property. And what we're trying to do is bring it over here, which is a more logical spot and a little easier to pick up. Okay, that's going to be on the east side between Jefferson and the building itself. It's the same size. It's been positioned that way because we feel that the garbage truck can get there and get out, and that's what you see on the right side here. This is the garbage truck simulation. Be able to get inside, service it, and get out. Okay. Also on this exhibit, and I just want to point it out because Mr. Holloway had asked us to prepare the exhibit. This also shows a fire truck. This is a ladder truck of 40 feet that's able to get in from Jefferson and out through Webro, and that's what you see here on the left. I'd be happy to pass that around if you can't see it.
I can't. How many trees are being removed to accommodate this proposal?
We have 52 standalone trees, and then we have a wooded acre that's tucked in the corner, the northwest corner here.
Okay,
About 17,000 square feet here, miscellaneous trees.
So, I don't know if this has already been addressed, but Parks and Forestry has deemed this relatively inadequate, meaning the landscape plan relative to the scale of your construction. Has there been something to remedy that, the concerns voiced by James Walsh?
Yeah, so he prepared that letter, I think was dated in October.
Yep.
And after that letter, then Mr. Brooks went and met directly with him. Okay. And we enhanced our plan after that. And so what you see here on Exhibit A3 is that enhancement. And this is, I presume, is satisfactory to the forester.
Well, as is Mr. Walsh's general standing request, we will coordinate any additional landscaping with Mr. Walsh post-approval, as that's usually his preference on developments of this scale. And if the board sees fit to approve this application, we will commit to do that.
What's the purpose of all that, those trees in the corner coming down?
That's to accommodate the new parking area. And this area was.
Oh, that whole light gray
It's
is
this light gray
currently
area.
forested.
Correct.
And you need to have that because of